Today, we are diving deep into the unpublished writings of one of Greece's most legendary counterculture figures, Nikolas Asimos. This was a guy who was a musician, a philosopher, a total rebel. He lived his life completely outside the lines. What you're about to get is a raw, unfiltered look inside the mind of someone who fought against pretty much everything, just to be himself.
Okay, so let's just start with his central challenge to the entire world. This quote, "I do it, but this proves that it can be done, so do it." You see, this wasn't just some friendly suggestion, it was a command. He saw his own radical freedom not as something special just for him, but as a blueprint for everyone. He was basically saying, look, it's possible. Now it's your turn.
So, how did he actually live this philosophy? Well, for starters, it began with a total, complete rejection of authority. Let's get into his fierce, public-facing rebellion against, well, every societal rule you can possibly imagine.
What's so wild about this is just how clearly it lays out his worldview. You've got society's rules on one side, and on the other, his absolute no-questions-asked rejection of them. For him, the law wasn't some framework for order. No, it was a vulgar, useless cage for the human spirit. Something you had to dismantle, not just try to get around. But here is the absolute key to understanding him. This wasn't about creating chaos for chaos' sake. Not at all. It was a philosophy of radical personal accountability. He wasn't trying to avoid responsibility. He was trying to seize all of it for himself. He was basically seceding from the entire legal and social system.
In this rejection of all the external rules, it leads us to something even deeper. Asimos's rebellion, you see, it wasn't just against the police or the government. It was against the very way we think about art, life, and what it even means to be authentic.
Okay, this idea is a total mind-bender. Asimov believed that a song, a book, any piece of art that's not life itself. It's just the memory of a moment that's already gone. It's an artifact of a life that has, in that specific instant, died. And we make the mistake of thinking the recording is the real thing.
And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of it. True living, what he calls his animal moments, is so all-consuming that you can't capture it. You can't even clearly remember it. The second you try to record it, you've already stepped outside of the moment. For Asimos, real life is fundamentally unrecordable.
But, behind this defiant philosopher, there was also a deeply vulnerable human being. So now, let's peel back another layer and look at his intense and often painful struggle to find a genuine connection with another person.
I mean, listen to these words. In these incredibly raw and personal notes to a loved one, he admits to pushing them to the absolute limit. He says he became awful just to test their bond, to see if they could handle his own self-destructive side. It reveals this profound sense of weakness and, really, a desperate need for acceptance.
And right when he was about to give up on the whole thing, his partner showed him a different way forward. She showed him that there is no simple end. And in that moment, he sees this strength in her that he never recognized before, a power that could withstand all his chaos and show him a path.
And this entire, massive struggle boils down to this one beautiful, simple statement. Now I know that you know. It's the ultimate recognition of a shared understanding. It's a connection that was forged not in spite of all the pain, but because of it. It's like the quiet right after the storm. Now, this intense personal search for an authentic connection, it wasn't just in his private life. Asimos used stories and allegories to explore the very same struggle on a societal level. And there is no better example than his strange, satirical little parable about a piglet named Niononios.
So here we see the tragedy of social conformity laid out step by step. Nionos desperately wants to belong, right? But the price of admission is to erase everything that makes him him. So he gives in, he lets himself get washed with the shampoo, and in that process, he completely loses his own identity.
And here it is, the devastating punchline. They finally accept him, but they don't accept him. They accept the clean, perfumed stranger he's become. He got into the party, sure, but he had to leave his real self at the door. It's just such a powerful critique of a society that only embraces you once you're not really you anymore. And all of this brings us to Asimov's most fundamental choice, the one that really defined his entire existence. Because unlike Nionos, who eventually caved, Asimos made a conscious, deliberate decision to embrace a life of hardship over the easy path of conformity.
Look, Asimov knew he could have sold out. He knew he could have played the game and lived comfortably. But he saw that path as a total betrayal. He called the people who took it fake murderers, students, leftists, anarchists, basically anyone who wore the costume of rebellion without actually living the reality.
And he makes this incredible connection right here. His creativity, his very identity, was fueled by what he called hamaliki, the daily drudgery, the struggle just to get by. He believed that without that constant hardship, he would lose the very essence of what made him Asimos.
So you've got to understand this. His difficult life wasn't a failure, and it wasn't a punishment. It was a choice. It was a deliberate, necessary condition for him to maintain his authenticity in a world that, just like the duck in Ionios' story, was constantly telling him to wash himself clean.
And that's really the question Asimos' entire life leaves us with, isn't it? He paid for his freedom with hardship, poverty, and isolation, and he chose it willingly. And his story forces us to look at our own lives and ask, what compromises are we making, and what is the true price of our own authenticity?